Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today and a very warm welcome to the online talk Design for Good Experiences. This event is presented by the Society of Experiential Graphic Design and is supported by the Design Singapore Council at the National Design Centre. So today's session, Design for Good Experiences, is the third talk of the Crafting Experiences quarterly series presented by SEGD, the Society for Experiential Graphic Design. We will be discussing what good experiences actually entail, the mindset of putting people first, and whether anyone can learn how to design for good. The session will start off with an introduction by SEGD, followed by a sharing session from our speakers, and wrap up with a Q&A segment. And so with that, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our speakers for today. So first of all, we have us Steve Lawler, co-founder and head of creative of Aya, an independent publication and art platform which uses creativity for social good. It has developed a strong network of creators for the educational space and was also a recipient of the recent 2020 President's Design Award. Steve is a veteran of the design industry with a career spanning graphic design, advertising, art, interactive design, and exhibition curation. We also have with us Larry Pei, founder and creative director of &Larry, an independent branding and design studio. Recipient of the President's Design Award in 2014 and 2016, Larry has produced a body of work that exemplifies the spirit of collaboration, resulting in innovative experiences and stronger connections between people and brands. Larry believes in leaving his mark not through his creations, but by the good that they deliver. And last but definitely not least, we have Eric Wijaya, design principal of Thinking Room, a branding and design studio based in Jakarta. Eric is a big fan and practicing craftsman of emotion-driven design, and he believes in creating designs that resonate with people and creating environments that centers around togetherness for his team. Moderating our session today are SEGD Singapore co-chairs Oha Romanik and Jan Folien. Oha is the creative director at design build firm Devarge, where she oversees projects, entertainment, attractions, culture, and commercial sectors within Singapore and the region. She believes in meaningful and purposeful solutions that go beyond aesthetics or latest trends and is inspired by designs that break the mold. Jan is the founder of Vitos, Singapore's practice, and co-founder of Vito Architects in Paris. Embracing multidisciplinary approaches, Jan has a diverse expertise in sustainable architecture, cultural curation, and exhibition design. He is also an associate member of the Singapore Institute of Architects and a member of the International Council of Museums. It is now my pleasure to hand over the time to Oha and Jan, who will share more about experiential design and SEGD. Oha, Jan, please.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Felicia, for this introduction. We are honored to be partnering again with Design Singapore Council, and thank you for joining us today for the Society of Experiential Graphic Design Singapore's chapter 3rd in the series of talks this year titled Crafting Experiences, Stories by Experiential Designers from Southeast Asia. My name is Ola Romanok, and with me is Jan Folien. As Felicia had introduced us, we are the co-chairs of SCGT Singapore chapter, and we will be the moderators for the talk this evening. So we have a fantastic lineup of speakers, and today we will be talking about designing for good experiences. So a good experience is often hard to define in concrete words, and measuring it in its value and impact can be difficult. In the most direct terms, good experiences are exemplified by how they can shape events and interactions we share with people, things, places, services, rules, and anything else we encounter in the world around us. There is unlimited potential of designing for human-centered experiences. From physical to digital and anywhere in between, the mindset of putting people first can help to create unforgettable experiences with positive impact and create the future we want it to be.
So thanks again, everyone, for being here today, and thanks, Olaf, for this introduction on the design for good experiences. But what is experiential design? And so that's a question that we always ask. So experiential design in interior, for example, integrates multiple disciplines to create a memorable interaction and to enhance certain attributes in the overall experience. So besides functionality, comfort, aesthetic, and integration of the latest technologies, the experiential design also addresses the psychological aspect of human interaction with the built environment. So now, if we go to the next slide, what is experiential design and why is it so important? So on the next slide, we can see that here the growing dependence on technological devices is extensively changing human behavior in day-to-day life. So we need to create this engagement with the public spaces that is beyond the conventional method because it is more and more challenging, and especially in this pandemic time. So whether it is a marketer, an interior designer, installation artist, all progressive professionals basically are combining their forces to go into these immersive experiences in as what we call the edge of experience. So the next slide. 5 major categories of experiential design: exhibition design, marketing, entertainment, placemaking, and environmental graphics. So the next slide. So exhibition design is this hybrid of storytelling and environment that we find in museums, galleries, and so on. On the next one, we move to marketing, like sensory experiences like Times Square in New York, guerrilla marketing, and product experiences and launches. So that is for marketing. On the next slide, so we go to entertainment, concert, and events that are mainly in this category, the one that we have not been experiencing that much in Singapore, from small scale to very big scale entertainment. On the next one, so this placemaking, public installation and landmark which define the space around us to welcome everyone. And on the last part, environmental graphics, messages, information, or imagery that are attuned to the environment that it is displayed in. So those 5 categories. And now we move to the next one, where it is what is experiential graphic design, So experiential graphic design involves the orchestration of typography, color, imagery, form, technology, and especially content to create the environment that communicate. So on the next one, we can see that these experiences due to environmental graphic design can be clear, impactful, and human. And so that it is whether it's wayfinding or any other environmental graphics for this experience. So the next one, we have the core component of experiential graphic design, signage and wayfinding, once again placemaking and interpretive. So the next one, signage and wayfinding, as you can see, the solution require more than signage because it's pathway, visual cues, landmarks, and so on that help people to navigate through a space. That's what we had in one of the early talks earlier this year. The next one, interpretive. So all of this information that can tell a story, the meaning of a concept, a theme, an object. So that is usually what is being used in the display in the form of exhibit, so interpretive. And the last one, placemaking, creates this distinctive image for a site and can be expressed in several ways, like communication and so on towards architecture, interior design, even sculpture. All of this is basically contributing to the experience.
So I guess before we get to know, before we start getting to know our speakers, we also want to introduce everyone, or if you joined us during previous talks, to remind everybody and tell everybody about SEGD, Society for Experiential Graphic Design. So SCGT exists to educate, connect, and inspire the multidisciplinary community of people that are basically creating these holistic experiences. So who are we? What do we do? And what have we done this year in Singapore? So if you go to the next slide, we are a community of diverse thinkers and practitioners. We are not just designers in one field, but we practice throughout different disciplines. And we are peer-to-peer supporters of design thinking and doing. We're passionate about design. We are about meaningful inspiration and engagement, and we share love for design. We are SEGT.
We are SEGT.
So what have we done this year? I hope you've joined us during our first 2 talks where we are really focusing on crafting experiences, and we want to hear the stories by experiential designers from Southeast Asia. We focused on environmental graphics and wayfinding design in our first talk of the year. And we had Kelly Chang of the Press Room, Yalang Yu of Foreign Policy Studio, and also William Harold Wong of William Harold Wong and Associates that joined us for to talk about their experiences in the field. We just have a few glimpses of what wonderful projects our speakers had presented. So Kelly presented some of the do's and the don'ts in the wayfinding and exhibition design. If you go to the next slide, Yaling showcased some of her projects with clever wayfinding and branding applications. And finally, on the next slide, William gave us a fascinating overview of his projects that infuse vernacular and local flair into signage and wayfinding design. In our second talk, we had focused on exhibition and interpretive design with some of the heavyweights of the exhibition design community here in Singapore, and also a guest speaker from Thailand. We had Jackson Tan from Black, Laura Mioto from GSM Project, and Vinay Chairakporn from BUG Studio out of Thailand. Jackson had introduced us to a project that was very widely known, which is the art zoo. Laura has transported us into more traditional experiences in the museum environment, and how she merged digital and physical experiences to create new dimensions of interpretation in a traditional museum space. And finally, Vinay, who gave us a fascinating glimpse into his multi-sensory projects that combined all senses to create truly immersive experiences in his projects. And if you go to the next slide, we do have more talks coming up and exciting lineups. If you want to see our first two talks, please do take a look at the SEGD YouTube page, where both of the talks are posted, and you can watch them in their entirety if you have a favorite speaker that you wanted to catch but weren't quite able to. So with our SEGD, we are offering a special new regional membership. If you would like to join the community and take advantage of all of the benefits the community offers, it is a global organization, and we do have a wide variety of connections and resources that are available for the designers that are practicing or curious about the field. So you can see on the screen, you can follow the link below and join or check out more information about SEGD. So
now I think it is time to discover and to get to know our speakers. So we have this tradition in our SCGT Singapore chapter talks, where we have this really like funny break the ice kind of introduction. We wish we could all be in the same space, but we cannot. So we would like to know a bit more about Steve, Larry, and Eric. So on the next slide, it is what we call the fast and curious. So I think you need to get prepared, because we will start with Steve on the next slide. I think it's this. So Steve, if you want to come on stage, if we can see your video.
Yes, hi.
Perfect, Steve. Hi.
So Steve, question. So I do Steve. Yes, okay. Steve, I will ask you a question. So sketchpad or computer?
Computer.
Computer. Okay, next one. Timeless or trendy?
Timeless.
Next one. Simple or complex?
Complex.
Complex. Black and white or color?
Color.
Color. Curves or lines?
Curves.
We love curves. Control or chaos?
Chaotica.
Okay, great. And the next one? But nice, Larry.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Okay. Now, Larry, come on stage.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. So, Larry, I think you got a taste of what these questions are. So, if you could also turn on your camera so we can get started with you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay.
Hi, Larry.
Hi, Larry.
Hello.
Okay, great. Let's get started. Inside or outside?
Inside.
Okay. Digital or manual?
Manual.
Okay. Fast or cheap?
Fast.
Midnight oil or olive oil?
Olive oil.
Collaboration or isolation?
Collaboration.
Great. And immersive or subversive?
Immersive.
Subversive.
Okay, great.
Eric,
Thank
your
you,
turn.
Larry.
So thanks, Larry. We'll call you back soon. So Eric, Eric, where are you? Come on stage.
Hey.
Turn on your camera. And so, hi, Eric. Nice to meet you again here. So, question for you. Next slide. Simple or complex?
Simple.
Simple. Hands-on or hands-up?
Hands-on.
Hands-on. Linear or organic?
Organic.
Organic.
Definitely.
Temporary or permanent?
Permanent.
Permanent. Timeless or trendy?
Same with Steve, timeless.
Timeless. Okay. And PC or Mac?
Mac, of course.
Okay, Mac, of course. Okay, thank you. I think we are done with all of our first round of questions. So we'll call you back, Eric, very soon, because now we are going into a bit deeper into basically the environment of our speakers with this show and tell. Since they are in their offices or in their home, perhaps they can share with us a little bit more. So we will start again with Steve. I do Steve, I think.
Sure.
Yeah. And so. But Steve, but Steve, come on stage.
Steve.
Turn on your camera and come on stage.
I'm here.
You're here. Great. Okay. So what does designing for good mean to you?
Wait, is this a question or is this my slides?
It's a question. It's a
to
question.
you.
Okay. Well, what does designing good mean to me? I suppose like having a purpose and having a sort of, it's got a longer life than a 3-month ad campaign.
Okay, fair enough.
So are you more creative when working alone in a quiet place or collaborating in a busy environment?
I like intimate settings, so either alone or with 1 or 2 people who I respect, and kind of, yeah. So I bend the answer alone, maybe, if I had to choose one.
What object on your desk do you use the most?
I mean, obviously, like laptop, mouse, that kind of stuff. But I've got some like new stuff on my desk. Like I got my new leader mask from the and I got like my funny books, my comics, like these always come in inspiration.
Great.
Wonderful.
Toys, things like that.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Thanks
Thanks for showing a little bit of your desk to us. So next up is Larry. So Larry, we will also ask you a few questions and get to know a little bit about you and about your creative process and the environment that you work in. So The first question would be, where is the place where you feel most creative?
The toilet.
I suppose it could be a one-word answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. Is there anything in your office workspace that is integral to your work process?
Yeah, this also is kind of like the guitar. I mean, kind of a stress relief thing.
Okay.
I can train my left hand to play the guitar as well.
Okay.
So I find myself pressing this endlessly throughout the day.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And the last question, is design essential for well-being?
Yes and no, because there's something that I prefer to be not designed, but yet nature itself is sort of designed. So I guess we are kind of blur the lines. So I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah. So we move on to Eric now. So Eric, come on stage and turn on your camera. So we'll have like a few similar questions for you as well. So on the next slide, what object on your desk do you use the most?
I think it used to be my MacBook, but now it's my iPhone, maybe.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I play games a lot.
Okay. That's good. But what do you do when you feel stuck in your work process?
I usually move to another project or another stuff that not related to design, maybe.
Okay, so just have to move to something else. Okay, yeah. And on the last question, so what does designing for good mean to you?
I think design that has a good purpose, and it could give a good impact to others as well as to ourselves as a designer.
Okay, yeah. But thanks a lot for all of these answers. So I think now we will go into the main core of our talk. So thanks, Eric, and we'll call you back. So to our audience, you've been listening to all of these questions, like the Fast and Curious, the show and tell. So that gives you a bit of the context of all of the speakers. And so we now go through the slides and the presentation of each of our speakers. So Steve, so Felicia has already presented who is Steve, so the co-founder and the head creative of Aya, recently the recipient of the President Design Award 2020 in Singapore. I have the great chance of knowing Steve personally for many, many years since I arrived in Singapore. And I would say he's been very instrumental in the graphic design and the design industry here, and even beyond that in the entertainment industry, which is where I met him. I'm very, very happy to have you today with us and to share basically your behind the scene and your creative process. So as we say, with much further ado, let's welcome Steve on stage, on our virtual stage. Steve,
okay, so I just say like sorry in advance because I only really made this presentation and I haven't practiced it, and it's 24 seconds of 24 slides. So I'm just going to do my best, all right? And if I waffle on, just kick me up the bum.
No problem.
Sure, no
Yeah,
worries.
it's cozy, nice and cozy, chill. We are all very happy to listen to you. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, the fastest way to grow is by leaving your comfort zone. I think I grew up in Hong Kong and I never understood the language. And I think watching films in new languages and being the sort of minority really teaches you different viewpoints. And I think this is why this slide is here. Next. When you're challenged, you exercise your brain in creative ways. What this is about is really about trying to use creativity to solve problems. And this will become apparent later on. But what I want to make sure is that everybody here understands that creativity is not just assigned to creatives. I was lucky enough to attend Fabrica, which is like a kind of creative communication research center, and one of the famous sort of things that it used to make was Colors magazine, and it got me very interested in the idea of kind of non-commercial graphic design and visual communication and what we can do with the tricks of advertising to persuade people to think in other ways about human issues. Next slide. You know, this First Things First manifesto was initially written in perhaps 1967. I suggest you screenshot this slide. There's a lot of text, but I'll just tell you briefly. It's about a movement of graphic designers in the 60s who were worried that graphic design was becoming a tool for selling things and not using its full potential. And Tibor Kalman I've put here as one of my heroes. And if you don't know him, please go and find out more about him, who I really respect and share this philosophy with of using design to tackle global issues. So what can we address with our skill sets? I think, you know, everything here, graphic design and visual communication and the design process in general can address. And I think this is what definitely drives me in terms of visual culture and its uses. And I think, again, screenshot this if it's too much to take in, but I think I'll expand on this a little bit in the next slide. So I started a magazine called Aya with my colleague Tanya Wilson, and we've been working in advertising for 20 so years. And I think what we realized quickly was that it was a waste of a lot of great artists and illustrators' ability. And so now we've got this magazine, Aya, where we take on different issues. And we go to the next slide. Our first issue was about the internet. Our second issue was about food. Our third issue was about trash. Our fourth issue was about tea. Then we did fake news. And this is 420 people are addicted to the internet, 1 million people, but that's only people that have registered for counseling. There must be millions more. Let's go to the next slide. So with our first issue, when we launched, we wanted to make an exhibition about the internet. And if you look at the image on the right, or this is about blocking unwanted calls. And we wanted to show young people and children in particular how to decode images and the little shot of adrenaline they get when they understand an image. And it's called a smile in the mind. And I think using these visual puns to communicate has been a really effective tool for us. And if we go to the next slide, it's images of our launch where we made an internet house. So if you look on the stairs, there's viruses, there's devices on the right, there's Wi-Fi on the left. We wanted to create this sort of walk into a magazine, if you like. I mean, it was fairly low budget, so we didn't have a ton of screens or interactive things, but we really wanted a visual impact that people would enjoy. And if we go to the next slide, we created like a iPhone prison. You can see there, everybody enjoying it. It was a kind of photo booth. We had these little worksheets where people would go around and find little Easter eggs in the artworks, and it encouraged them to observe and kind of look for things in every single artwork. There was about 40 artworks from around the world. And yeah, we go to the next slide. These are some of the worksheets that they were given. So they would then go around and kind of dig a bit deeper into the show. You know, sometimes when you go to an exhibition, you're not that engaged. And I think we quickly found that teachers were bringing their children to our exhibition because they found it was a great way of bringing these topics up for discussion. If we go to the next slide, then we got kind of roped into or invited to start doing workshops. And it wasn't long before we were doing collage workshops with kids, animation, GIF workshops. And what's really interesting is when you do collage, you're no longer hindered by the ability to draw. And I think young people really were able to express themselves with magazines and newspapers found around the classroom and around the school. And I think this project in particular really empowered a lot of the kids who thought they were bad at art, realizing that they can put something down. We have these creative challenges. How do you trigger imagination? Okay, you don't need to be a creative director to do this. Here's 9 images. Combine any 3 to come up with the title of a blockbuster movie to encourage young people to do more for the planet. You can screenshot this and you can do it later. But for example, a giant roller skating bear seeks revenge for rising sea levels. Okay, like, I mean, there's infinite possibilities here. And I think there's no wrong answers, which is really key in this journey of teaching creativity. Other creative exercises are things like caption contests, again, where there's no correct answer. Screenshot this if you want to do it with your classrooms or your colleagues or your peers. It's a really fun exercise. We often put them on our Instagram, which is IAMag, if you want to go and follow that. And some of the answers, you can get better. Every time you do a caption contest, you will get better and more creative. So it's measurable. And of course, a lot of these illustrations just inform really fun sculptures or really fun 3D ideas. And I think that's what I'm moving to next in these next few slides, is how do we break away from the page and start to bring to life some of these visual ideas? You know, the car tire donut. I mean, it's quite a strong visual. Why not? Let's make it bigger. Let's make it like tactile, something we can play with. We go to the next slide. We start to create an exhibition. If you look at on the wall here, there's a rubbish bin, and on the floor is all of these coffee cups. And what we wanted to do was create a kind of interactive engagement for kids visiting this exhibition, where they would throw the coffee cup tops, you know, the takeaway coffee tops, into this rubbish bin. And if you go to the next slide, the idea was this image on the left kind of inspired this whole exhibition. It was a pop art show using very interesting visual kind of juxtapositions, and it was by an Australian artist called Yeah Chloe, who you can find on our Instagram as well. And it just, her work became really, you wanted to make it into 3D, you wanted to walk into her work. So back to the question, can one image trigger a whole exhibition experience? And if you look at the next slide, the answer is very bluntly, yes. We made an exhibition about the ocean, and essentially we had 40 artists from around the world making GIFs and sculptures and larger than life artworks that you could kind of walk into. And you see here, there's mini sculptures, there's coral, there's a shark cafe. We had face filters and GIF stickers so visitors could kind of interact with the works. This was during COVID, by the way. So it was a no low touch exhibition. So a lot of the interaction was done through hand phones. But it just goes to show you the power of one image can really, really trigger like a lot of stuff. And then we talk about virtual, this is a little GIF sticker exhibition that we made recently, earlier this year, where we supplied the public with GIF stickers and they went off to create the artworks. And we made an exhibition of the public's submissions. And this virtually existed online, but also on bus stops around Singapore. And yeah, so if we go to the next slide, it's slightly different. This is not an Aya project, but it's a project we did last year about Akira-inspired art. So we made an Akira-inspired space with these artists from, they're from around the region, actually, more Asia. And we were due to have this exhibition, a physical exhibition, but COVID struck. So we just kind of thought, wow, lots of these artists, actually one of the artists, the contributing artists, made the virtual gallery. So it all kind of happened quite organically. And there's sculptures and it allowed us for sound and things like that. So what's next? So this, if you can see, I know it's quite dark. This is an eye that tracked you around the room at one of our previous exhibitions called GIF Fest. And it's a festival of GIFs or GIFs, whatever you prefer to say. And it's been running it's a 2-year event. Every 2 years we do this celebration of GIFs. And the next one coming up will be Art Science Museum in March 2022. And the theme will be anxiety. So if anybody wants to take part, get involved, sponsor anything, come, just screenshot this now and follow those hashtags, and then you can get involved. Okay, thanks, peace.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks a lot for sharing with us all of your body of work, and it's very inspiring and very exciting. And to the audience, if you have questions, keep your questions. We have a Q&A session after that. So feel free to post questions and we will answer to them at the end. So thanks again, Steve. And now we will go to Larry. Okay. So Larry Pei. So please, Larry, come on stage. So thanks again, Steve, and let's welcome Larry.
Thank you, Steve. So Larry, who's the recipient of the President's Design Award and the founder of Larry, an independent branding and design studio. So Larry, if you could please turn on your video. So
yeah, I'm here.
Let's start with your portion of the presentation. So whenever you're ready, Larry.
So Larry, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jan. Thanks, Ola. I'm going to start my presentation. So every client brief and outcomes are different. So today I'll try my best to share what I've learned over the years. Yeah, this is what our studio believes in. Good design disappears and the great design should touch the heart. It's very easy to say, but it's very hard to get there. So I always start with good intentions and then how it feels eventually. Oh, sorry, that's the 24 seconds thing. I got to speak faster. So, start with good intentions. How does it feel eventually? And then you kind of plan and work backwards. Okay, next slide. The experience design to me is very much like my daily vitamin C pill. It disappears, but what's good remain in you. And I love this daily ritual so much that recently I ran out of it. I went to the store. And this lady just over the counter insists that the chewables are better than this. You retain more vitamin C. I said, no, I just want this. You see? So for the audience, if they love the experience so much that you can't tell them otherwise. So that's the goal, right? Most of us. Next. So besides your design sense, one of the important things I've found out over the years is to engage the 5 other senses. Of course, I mean the hear, smell, touch. But to me, one of the most important one is the 6th sense, proprioception or whatever you call it. It's intuition, experiences, memories, something we share as human beings. So I unfortunately I can't give you a rundown on how I get there, but yeah, you know, the 6th sense thing is very important. Next slide. Just like what I said, I imagine and Larry to disappear, or I should disappear after some time. So glad to see after the 16th year, we've changed our brand mark to NL. So hopefully you don't see me as much anymore. You'll see my team more next time. Yeah. So what we do is more like branding. We always distill the essence of a brand. So it's almost like to me, it's very interesting how you can extract the entire chicken into a digestible form, like how they advertise in brands chicken essence, right? So focus on the main idea and play around with the so-called ingredients that make up the overall experience so that it doesn't seem so big. I gotta swallow the whole chicken at one go. Yeah, that's how I do it. Next slide. This is our essence. Everything is designed with sole purpose. This is our proprietary 7-step framework. Sometimes we use everything, sometimes we use more. So it's kind of like a guiding principle here. Purpose is almost a given these days, but we always believe that if you ain't got a soul, nothing moves with it. So I will pick up 2 very quickly just to run through today. I think it's more relevant. Next slide. First is people. A lot of times you talk about these days like Gen Z, Gen Y, and whatever but I would kind of use a marketing term of tribes. Focus on the tribes who, people who share a deep-seated attribute instead of going into like, oh, we got to target this audience or that audience. So, I mean, the usual blah, 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 user journey, pain points, unmet needs. But one thing that a lot of people always neglect are the internal folks here. So you always talk about external, the people, who your audience, your consumers, so on and so forth. But to me, a lot of attention needs to be placed inside, like your team members, your whoever the internal stakeholders as well. Next. Ownability. So this is something very unique because if you go to this exhibition, this app or whatever program, you will find that it's very different. So how do you turn your brand's uniqueness into meaningful experiences across every touch points? And think about what are the things you can protect in terms of IP? And IP is going to be the big thing. Just like, for example, Jackson's Art Zoo, right? Try to copy the idea, he'll come after you. So something to think about as well. Next. This is our belief. It's a very simple graph where, we always adjust our outcomes according to our intentions and what's possible. And that way you kind of manage expectations and you sort of move your outcomes differently and becomes more interesting, sometimes beyond expectation, rather than more friction, because I'll show more examples later on. Next. And this is our goal. We believe in this word called balance. And Jedi calls it the balance of the force, right? So they took that from Buddhism. We try to balance everything we do. And to me, perfection lies in the gray area, or some call it off-white. So using our works, I try to showcase some of the things that we hope you can learn from some of the things that I've put out here, some of our balancing acts of sort. I was quite adventurous in putting a lot of works inside, but in the end, I kind of regret because it's short timing and too many slides. So I'll try my best. Here we go. Okay, this is the first one, ideas and feasibility. Design something more or less you think you can deliver. Because this one almost killed us back then when we designed this, like, oh, we want to do this clear, crystal clear well, contain the new water, that, things like that. And we called Tokujin Yoshoka's factory in Japan. They turned us down. They say they only do it for him and no one else. And I was shit. And we went around Singapore, nobody can do it. We tried China, and eventually, yes, come hell or high water, we got it made in China, and someone just experimented after many explosions. We did it in resin, clear resin. So yeah, make sure you can get it done first. Next one, recurring theme, Asian and global. a lot of times it's like, oh, we have very different audience. How do you sell an idea to Asians and the world? So we always kind of, because as Singaporeans ourselves, we are quite global in a sense. So I always combine something that is very, familiar to the East and the Western audience as well. So in this case, we wanted to do something about science. So I included this periodic table with the Chinese medicinal hall ideas. So the different audience will see different things and they'll get what this thing means. Next. We can always only learn from the past, but how we consistently and always looking ahead of the future gives us a very good sense of the now. So we suffer from this problem of like, oh, ahead of the curve. A lot of things we do, like, oh, it can't be done, or the audience don't get it. So this is kind of like a lesson we learn over the years, like how to always learn from the past mistakes and, kind of plant the flag in the future so that you can understand what is that now, the past and the future and the now. Right, next. Hardware. This is like what I said earlier. This is one of the clients we have good relationship with, Bind Artisan, where we use the heart to move people. Internal team is very important. Unite your team regardless of age and let them shine as individuals. So we develop this openness for shared experiences and let the guys be who they are, because originally they went to another agency, branding agency, and they asked them to keep all the old folks at home, keep them behind, don't show them to the world. The young people don't want to listen to the old man. But we think otherwise. And today, Mr. Chong is one of the oldest craftsmen. He has many apprentices who are like Gen Z, and they keep the craft alive, and he moves on. So everybody comes in, feels at home, even the customers. So they no longer buy things, but they support you. Yeah, next. Refreshing and familiarity. This is a project we did for Tong Heng, a very old pastry maker in Singapore. They cannot introduce new pastries. They have what it is, and this is it. So we asked them to shift things around every day, every now and then, so that you can spice things up a bit, and it worked. So a lot of their pastries that people don't buy, or the audience or the customers who has been here forever, oh, new flavor, I want this and this and that, but actually it's been around from day one, almost 70 years. So that works as well. Be creative. Next, yep. Heritage and Modernity is the same client. We managed to keep the old audience and we win a lot of new audience. How do we do it? I learned from LV. You have original elements, you put it all across all the touch points, and you vary the vessel. Like in these days, you see LV with the same monogram, with the same familiar icons or designs. They have it on denim, they have it on whatever. Yeah. So you tweak the two so that you can achieve this familiarity with the current and new audience. Next one, Physicality and Spirituality. This is interesting because a lot of people love the store. We got a lot of good feedback. So learn to see and feel beyond the surface. What's deeper than that? So in this case, we design a store for the customers. Of course, the owners, they have to be happy. The staff moving in and out, and most importantly, we design this for the god. Why I say that, because if you look at that black door at the back, right, the door is very weird because the contractor and the Japanese team that we work with, they kept asking, why do you have the door in such a weird height? Because the trolley they push in and out is shorter than this. I said, because there is a kitchen god, and his point of view needs to look through. And they, okay. So after that, when, after I presented this whole thing, the very old owners, fourth generation, they looked at it, and third generation, sorry, they say, I can see the gods. Good. So everything got approved. So that was the main turnkey. And the next one, interestingly, Seen and Unseen, rebranding of death care service. How to extend the respect for the ones you can see and the ones you can't. So we have journey mapping, user journey mapping. It has to be extended, not just for the living, but we got to extend it to the death, to the deceased. We have to think about, imagine if I'm dead, what, if I do come back, and if this ritual is for me, how does it feel like? What would I want to see? And things like that. So yeah, so sometimes you got to care for things that you can't see as well. Next project, this is Singapore National Day Parade. It's the toughest project, one of the toughest projects, because you're commissioned by the military. You got to be approved by the civil servants, and every committee is like 30 to 50 people. And you can imagine the kind of comments you have. And yet it's designed for all Singaporeans. So how do we do it? Well, we play on something, once again, familiarity, vary the proportions, give it a different context, or show them in a new light. As simple as that. That was a brief to the team, and we pull it off. Next one is Atomi. Buy now, pay later, growing very fast globally, but blame for getting youth in debt. So how do you balance this purpose and KPI at the same time? So for us, always go back to your why. You have good intention and define your clear why, and stay on course, no matter how much investment, valuation, so on and so forth. Don't deviate, stay on course. So recently also we also inform, we work together to inform the marketing, the social aspect, everything down to even choosing the K-pop global ambassador. We also have our take on it to tell them you shouldn't go with this band, even though they are top of the world. Nobody will remember you, and their values may not be aligned with you, things like that. So yeah, this project is very interesting. A short video we did in 2019 to commemorate the fall of the Berlin Wall. It was very interesting because it was pre-COVID, but we have lack of funds, we lack of time, we lack of everything. We cannot fly there, we cannot do whatever. So we experimented with like Zoom and what have you. We kind of directed the guy in Berlin and things like that, and we died over this, but we did it. So we learned something before COVID, that even if you can't be there, you can actually remove the walls and work together, and we can go places together. Having said that, I would love to go Berlin. This is my last slide. A great experience can have a lasting impression. This is one of my favorite albums from Jimi Hendrix, 1967. Are you experienced? If you just Wikipedia, you can find out all the funny stories about this. Is it about acid trip? Is it about chicken taking over humanity? Or at peace with yourself, Zen, so on and so forth? But it doesn't matter. The key point is this wonderful experience that Hendrix and his band members did has critics and fans having discourse right until today, even after 5 decades. So I hope whatever work that you guys out there are doing, it has an effect that everybody will still be like, wow, this is it. I'm sure he can find his way into the new metaverse as well. Anyway, that's the last slide. Thank you very much. Keep in touch.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks very much for sharing the diversity of your project. It's really fascinating to see the different media and different projects and different clients that you worked on. So we now have our last speaker, last but not least.
Yes, Eric Wijaya, please come on stage. So I'm really happy to have you with us, although not physically. It would have been fantastic if you could have come to Singapore and to share your design thinking, your experience. You are touching at so many different design environment and very proactive in innovating in all of this field. So I'm very excited to listen to your talk. So once again, let's welcome Eric. Eric, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jan and Ola. I think in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to share you some of our branding works we've done from various times. So when it comes to branding project, we usually did a brand touch, all of the brand touch points. Why? Because to give a comprehensive experience for customers about the branding. So one of them is the experiential works. So these are some of environmental design works that we did. So the first one is the co-working space called Co-work Inc. This branding project done in 2014. So one of the first co-working space in Indonesia. So we helped them develop all the logo identity, stationery, marketing items. The logo idea actually from the C and O, we kind of like made the C and O interlock each other to give an idea of connecting the community. To communicate the vision of the brand using the word connect, collaborate, and converge. So if you see here, they're on the 3rd floor of the fashion retail outlet. So we did a little installation made of laser cut metal on the stairs with a plastic proverb. Also, we we play around with the footprint becoming a higher and higher to show that you need to take the stairs to reach the area instead of using the stairs icon. So the next one is we made some icon for signage by combining two items to put into a context, like here toilet paper and men and women's shirt for toilet sign. Also, the owner has she got a Rottweiler dog, so we dedicated this Wi-Fi signage into her dogs. And open and close sign also derived from the C and O. When it's open, the O lit up, and when it's closed, the C lit up. So we kind of like make this kind of a play around with the branding idea into this environment. The next one is this initiative project taken from my old sketch in 2005. So this is like a result of contemplating a process when I decided to open my studio back then in 2005. So I'm asking myself like whether I should choose either gold or glory, which one is better, or what if I took a wrong path. This is produced in 2018 and it's got exhibited in Art Jakarta, one of the biggest art fair in Southeast Asia. We made a custom typography to create an optical illusion, and it's a gold plated. If you take a careful look, when the word gold was reflected to the mirror, it reveals the word glory. So we want to give a message that perhaps these two words always have a mutual value and could not be separated at first. At the end, maybe it's something you don't need to choose. Maybe it's something that they both are something that you need to earn at the same time. Got a good feedback from and response from if you see this the social climbers took their selfies and posted in their social media. Next one is Kanpai. This is done in 2018. It's a izakaya bar in North Jakarta. Logo was created as the word kan and pai were knocking each other, mimicking a drink toast. The idea of the brand taken from the Japanese red light district in Shinjuku. We use this tanuki, raccoon in Japanese folklore, as the mascot. Tanuki was a mischievous nature and it's able to shape-shift when and trick people. But when they drunk, he couldn't hold his disguise. So if you see here, still in the red light district theme, if you see the menu, the food menu, we took from the porn magazine concept, also as well as the drink menu. We took the concept from a bootleg porn DVD with the parental advisory stamp. The bill holder also we placed around with the wordplay using recycled can. We put the word Kanpai relating to the name of the brand. At the same time, it literally made out of a tin can. And the meaning of the word itself telling us that we can pay the bill. So we had fun with this kind of puns word playing. To support the brand as well, we created this photo op spot on the second floor, neon sign and some paint on the brick wall resembling the nightlife of Japan. We made this kind of a parody of a Glico Running Man that it's quite iconic and became a landmark in Osaka. We changed his face with this tanuki mascot. Next one is Rooms Inc. This is a hotel for young travelers and business person. The type of guests usually aim to use a place to stay from sunset to until sunrise. So the logo is inspired by the nature of business travelers of staying overnight after office hours and then took off in the first morning light. So we translate this visually into like by sinking and rising O's. This concept of vice versa is, if you see here the stairs to the lobby, we use this anamorphic typography technique. When guests arrive and going up through the stairs, they will read hi, and when they going down stairs, it reads bye. So we play around with this anamorphic techniques. In addition to the branding, we also design wall installation with the witty street smart messages found in many corners of the hotel. Also in the wall, also in the room, if you see the wall, we use a glow-in-the-dark paint on some of the graphic. So when the lights off, it reveals a new message. So here, like, if you see like a symbol, And then when they turn the lights off, they see the moon. Journey is a contemporary bar serving Chinese cuisine. The name Journey derived from one of the great classical novels of Chinese literature, Journey to the West. The J and the O of the logotype is composed from the Chinese letter for journey. The character of a Monkey King, if you see here, was used in the takeaway bag, wearing a chef hat. We did the chef hat as a hand of the bag, as a handle. Inspired with the original story, we created this brand concept which brings all 4 characters came alive. If you see here, the Monkey King and his friend have stranded to this place while they're traveling to the west. So 4 life-size sculptures holding kitchen utensils was created to complement the ambience with the humor and wittiness. You see here like the monk as a manager, the Monkey King as a chef, and the pixie as a busboy who eat all the leftovers from the customers. The bar also play around with the Chinese letters, like here, the T bar. If you see the T is meaning cha in Mandarin. The toilet direction sign was made as these 4 characters stand on a queue, holding up their P. So having fun with the VIP room as well. We came up with this Hollywood Walk of Fame. The footprint with their signatures were casted on the stone to leave the mark that they have been here. So the customer would feel this 4 characters were really exist. Next one is Tender Harmony. It's called a Harmonious Tent. It's a project brought by MLD Spot. It's a tobacco company in Indonesia. So they have this special area by year. They have this for a Java Jazz Festival. The design was inspired by street food vendor culture, usually set up of this like blue and orange tarp tent with some vernacular graphic font easily in the scene. We try to capture immersive experience. We collaborate with architect, lighting consultant, and motion artists to create this distinctive spatial experience. Contemporary approach was taken by integrating materials found in streets food vendors, such as like a tarp, a gravel, a polycarbonate, a concrete, plywood. We also developed a set of graphic assets and also the typography. All materials for this space were bare. We didn't put any finishing on the raw materials. The space design resembles the facade of a food stall, where usually when we eat inside the tent, people from outside can only see our feet. If you see here, only their feet were visible. So we also installed an interactive wall in the soundproof room. So when visitors can create their own music when they touch these cooking utensils and tablewares. So each of the tools has a different sound, tone, and beat. Even. The next one is Flash Coffee. This done in 2019. A tech-based coffee chain from Rocket Internet. It's a European tech company based in Berlin. Flash Coffee is expanding now. It's like into several countries, I think, including Singapore, Bangkok, Philippines, South Korean. I think they have like more over like 50 outlets now, 50 outlets. So the environment and ambience of the store following the brand direction consistently. We had this kind of idea of a yellow shop by making all the interior in yellow, so it would be easily recognized. Whether it's a standalone or in a mall, we made them quite consistent with the yellow colors, with all treatments like there. I think this is the last one. Lima is a newly revamped food court in one of the oldest malls in Jakarta. Provide a local Chinese Indonesian street food. The name Lima refers to kaki lima, which refers to 5 foot with pedestrian pavement. So Lima here, we reflected the number 5 into an A, and we made this for the logo. To bring a familiarity of the street food experience to Lima, we captured these iconic visual elements, such as like animal silhouette, stall numbers, or even the receipt. If you see here, we twist them into like a clean and modern look. The colors of Lima also are taken from the colorful melamine plates used by the street vendors, and we make this little GIF animations. So this is for the environmental design. We applied the vernacular typography, animal illustration, stall numbers, soy sauce label to evoke the visual memories from these vendors found in Chinatown area in Jakarta. So if you see the uncle here, the chef with the multiple arms, so we want to show like this uncle is like a jack of all trades, or maybe like a god of Shiva. So he can do anything at once. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for having me. Okay, let's keep in touch, everyone.
Thank you very much, Eric. And it was like it made us traveling because like Singapore has finally reopened a little bit. So we've been here for quite some time. So just by seeing all of your work, like made us traveling. So
traveling somewhere.
So thanks again, Eric. And
thank you.
We now start our Q&A. So we will ask all of the speakers to come back on stage. And so we received a fair bit of questions as well. So if you can, so Larry, Steve, and of course Eric, to turn on your camera. And so because we will have some questions. So before we take the questions of the audience, we will maybe start with a general question. So first of all, thanks for sharing all of what you've been doing. Very inspiring, very exciting. And for each of your practice, it seems that you are really going beyond one discipline. We cannot, like people like to put someone in a box, like you are a graphic designer, you are an interior designer, but actually each of you is doing a bit of everything. And in your expertise, in your practice, is it something that you move towards, to always go beyond what you've been doing, beyond your expertise? Let's say if you're a graphic designer, to go beyond that. So maybe can each of you share a bit with us your journey and how you go beyond this graphic design or interior design to constantly play, because that's what I'm taking note of, like playful. Each of you is highly playful. So maybe we can start with Steve. How do you go beyond basically your comfort zone to constantly design new exciting elements?
It's quite easy answer. It's like boredom. So and disenchantment and dissatisfaction. So I started out as a graphic designer and very quickly realized that just became the foundation for doing a lot of other things. And yeah, it's natural to want to evolve and try different mediums. And I'm pretty sure the other guys will feel the same.
And so in this, if I can just jump on that before I ask Larry, what was for you the most challenging? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, like the food just arrived in my house. So it's a bit chaos.
Okay. No problem at all. Well, what was for you the most challenging design that you took on, and that was really something that you never did before, and it was extremely challenging, but that you successfully handled?
Well, I wouldn't say successfully handled, but I think anything to do with moving parts, like humans at an event or an exhibition, they tend to be the most challenging kind of thing. And yeah, with varying levels of success. But I feel like if you have low risks, in other words, if you have no client or like, it's a personal project, then it doesn't matter if you're failing on your own time. Mm-hmm. I think, it's probably irresponsible to try new stuff with a client. I think you need to test bed it first.
Thanks for answering the question. And so Larry, on your side, because same thing, you are pretty much cross-disciplinaries among like many different fields. So same thing for you, like what made you going beyond what you are known for, and that might be challenging and so on, and that you are still like exploring and designing in this?
I guess it's, for me, I've always felt that the medium is the massage, right? I mean, my favorite book, Marshall McLuhan, it's where it kind of like the wheels is supposed to make your feet like a massage for your feet. So we use the car, right? So if social media is the right way to get it out, then we advise clients to do that. But or if metaverse is the better way to do it right now or in the early future, yeah, let's do that. So I guess it's about the voice, and I have no regard for, I mean, I'm not very concerned about the microphone that you speak into. So everything else is almost like that to me. So if I need to have it as a video, like the toughest one for me was the Berlin, one of the project, very tough of the Berlin film thing, because we just said, like, why don't we just make a film to commemorate it and that's it, you know, rather than having, because the original brief was supposed to do an exhibition.
Yeah.
You don't have budget to build an exhibition, and you know, you invite the kids to come, they'll be bored to death. Things like that. So we created a video for them so they can shoot it out to their, you know, whoever. But in the end, we try to do it in-house. Even a good friend wanted to help me, Felix from Anonymous. He said, oh, you can screen it in my design film festival. And that particular freaking format is like, we have no idea how to even down save it, up save it, and yeah, anyway. So
Okay. And so thanks, Larry. And so for you, Eric, like same thing, because we can see the diversity of your project, including like spatial design and even like involving sound and so on, using different medium, different material. Is it the core of your practice that you always go beyond, again, your comfort zone in exploring new territories?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Steve. Like, I'm afraid to get bored, and maybe the right word is stuck. So I'm if I get stuck, like I'm already like 47 years old now.
Oh, you don't look at all. It's amazing.
so if I still because we were starting off doing the logo only for the clients. So if I still do that in this recent time, I think it's going to be like I don't know. So and maybe as human, we have a temptation to grow and evolve. So I think simply just seek a new challenge, and maybe to get a self approval of ourselves and self reflection, and maybe So that's the new challenges, the new something like we haven't heard before. I think that's quite interesting for me.
Thanks,
Eric.
So I think to follow up, I think another question that has been, I think people are asking the same question, but in maybe different maybe ways. But you know, we're talking about designing for good, and you guys have worked on many different sort of projects and with different clients and with different subject matter. So how do we measure, or how do you think that you either measure or should measure the impact of the design or an experience that you have designed on your audience, on the visitors, on the people that are interacting with, whether it's an installation or a printed media or something that's a combination of different factors. So maybe Steve again will ask you that question. How do you measure the impact that your project has created on the people, on the audience that you're designing for?
I think really these are long-term questions. I mean, you know, we used to make a magazine called Cult Magazine, and I think it's only now some people are starting to hear about it. That's 10 years old. And I think if you really want to hit an audience, it's like it's getting away from social and going down to those communities and literally shoving a magazine into their hands and looking at their facial reaction, giving stickers out, giving like parties and getting people under, you know, actually meeting your audience. I feel like that's the way to measure. I think obviously if you're talking about a long-term engagement and brand recall, that stuff, like, I don't know, I don't even care about it. All I know is, like, in order to convince someone what you're doing is worthwhile and true, you've got to play the part and really mean it.
Sure. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. And how about you, Larry? What is the, how do you how do you define impactful project when it creates a real difference, maybe a great experience to your client or to the people that are experiencing it?
I think from my side, internally, it's easy to measure. It's basically conscience. So we only take on projects that our conscience will be clear. So that alone, it's quite easy. And my client side, most of them would have their own ways of measurements, right? From marketing department to engagement levels to Google and so on and so forth. So those I'm not so concerned because, like you said, I mean, these are all statistics. But for me, I see the chain of people involved with this, and not just the people, the environment. I'm not really an environmentalist per se, like, oh, you know, you gotta don't print it, don't give name cards and whatever. But it's kind of like how, because one of our sole purpose, right? The S represents sustainability. How do you sustain your business, and what impact do you do to the environment? So there's two prong. One is like, take for instance one of our client Dong Heng. It may not be a big project, but to us, it's very meaningful and we love that. You see, because the impact is that when it came to us, the brand that existed close to 90 years now, it might be no more. And there are many family members working together in this business. They kind of like, oh, you know, it's dwindling and they're not getting a new crowd and all these things. So you have people who are kind of like losing jobs if that's the case. And you have culture that is going to be gone for so many decades here. So there are a lot of these things that we measure, you know, the hardware part of things. So the physical, I mean, these are in a way or another through time that we have to set some benchmark and milestones where we can constantly go back and check on. Sorry, it's a loaded question. I hope I answered.
It's a very good question, and I think I will move to another very loaded question that I will address to Eric, because we talk about good design, or design for good experiences, or good design for experiences, and I think Larry, you mentioned something about good design and great design. And that is something that there is a nuance here that is very critical. And in this, when we talk about good, how do we define good? How do we set this definition of good for a project? Because good might mean something different from a consumer, a client, a KPI, or like good is so subjective, it's the same as beauty. So and I will ask this question to Eric, how do you set this, how do you like organize that in your work, or how do you embrace that in your work? Do you define good? And then how do you work on that with a client, for example?
Actually, I think, yeah, it's a very subjective matters if you discuss about good or bad, but I think our goal in every project is always like meet the objective of the project itself, not the. So we have this kind of like a questionnaire, a simple questionnaire. We ask the client not what they love, but what you want this project to be. So that's, I think it's if you get that kind of a parameter, so you can like squeeze a bit the expectation. So that's that. But I think to answer the question about the impactful project, how do you measure it? We live in a social media world now, so I think everything could be measured by just looking at the comments. And yeah, I think that's quite practical for us now to measure the impactful, how impactful the project is. And also, I think I have like my personal theory, like your work is good when somebody copied your works. So that's quite yeah, that's a bonus for us, I think.
Thanks for addressing the two questions in one go. Those very deep questions, and then we go towards Steve, because I know very well your work, and I do have your cult actually. Well, your magazine, no? I do have them, and even in defining good, for example. What I perceive from what you've done so far is very thought-provoking. It's something that really makes us like, what is the meaning behind it? And is it that for you, for example, good design means meaningful design or thought-provoking design, something that will make people reacting, and therefore an emotion, because good or bad is an emotion. So how do you work on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's two types of things. One is the visual impact, right? You're going to make something that's arresting so that you have created a moment where you can communicate. So, I mean, you know, we all scroll through Instagram and we see millions of, well, okay, we see thousands of images a day, perhaps. And through that, you really hone your visual literacy skills, and you start to identify what makes people stop on certain images. Is it color? Is it layout? Is it space? Is it, you know, a combination of things? Now, all graphic designers think like this. What I like to do is combine a sort of art, you know, a visual art aspect into it, where there's a combination of design, of message, and of a really kind of provocative, not shocking, but an image which provokes thought. Exactly the right word, provocative.
I think thanks for responding, and maybe we can ask a kind of contrary question to Larry.
So we talk about good design and designing for good, and finding meaning in projects. But from your standpoint, Larry, what would you think is the worst thing that you could do in a design or an experience? So not necessarily that you yourself have done it, but what do you think is maybe the wrong way to approach a project, or something to be aware of, especially for people that are the young designers that are starting their practices and starting to work with clients? So what in your opinion is the worst thing that you could potentially possibly do?
I think we're all guilty of it. I think it's jumping into any bandwagon just because like what Eric says, we're in the social world, right? It's like, wow, I launched my Netflix. #1 means it's good, but I tried it, not my cup of tea, right? So does it make it great if everybody loves it or everybody watches it? So I think it's like when something is popular, everybody jumps into it. You know, it's like, I'm not sure if to me that's a bad thing, but we're all guilty of it anyway, right? It's like, oh, don't see, this is bad. Oh, we want to see what's going on. You know, the whole world loves it. Yeah. So to me, I don't have any specific thing, but it's that, oh, this is hot. She's hot now. He's great, and yeah, you just go, oh, you kind of condition yourself to say the same thing. So I always kind of try to take a step back and say, is it really, you know, or you're kind of like conditioned as well with the social media and what have you out there.
And I
Answer your question.
Sure,
Yes.
definitely. And
Yeah,
I
empty
think,
stomach, and it's like not working kind of thing.
yeah, I think we're all kind of guilty of that to a certain degree. I think a follow-up question to Eric would be, what do you think? What is your opinion on sort of the impact of social media guiding or affecting design? Because right now everything is kind of driven by Instagrammable moments, or if you go to an exhibition, there needs to be that Instagram moment. So do you think it's dead? Do you think it's good? Or do you think there's a way to find a balance?
I think if you use the social media right, I think it will be useful for us. But I think the bad side of the social media now, I think it's everybody try to copy each other maybe. So I don't know, like lately I saw a lot of mediocre works over the social media. So I think you need to be yourself maybe. You need to be original, or maybe not original. I hate the word original, but you need to answer. You need to have your own purpose, and your maybe like Larry said, you need to find your why. You did this work. So I think just use it wisely, maybe. Just use and avoid cliche. Maybe that's my cup of tea.
Thank you, Eric, for responding to this last question, because I think we're coming to an end. It is quite late already. Our audience is still with us, and we received a lot of questions that will be answered like after the talk. Since you signed up to this talk, then you because we keep receiving questions, so they will be answered offline and they will be sent to you since you signed up to this talk. I just would like to thank once again our speakers. There is something that is quite amazing in having you with us today, is this creativity. This creativity in pushing boundaries, going beyond the comfort zone. If it is something that we can really take from this talk today, it is beyond good design, is what makes a great design. And I think each of you here are demonstrating a really beautiful energy to explore new territories, to go beyond your comfort zone, to constantly look for new things, and all of your work are very exciting for that. So it was very inspiring for me. I hope that it inspired all of our audience from wherever you are. I will just quote, I forgot who said that, maybe it's Larry: unite your team. And that's a very strong word, unite your team. And especially in this very hard time, let's remain united and unite your team to push the boundaries and to deliver beyond good design, a great design. So thanks again, everyone. Thank you. Thanks also Design Singapore for organizing all of this talk and for hosting us. Please follow SEGD. If you want to be a member, please sign up, contact us. We'll be more than happy, as you can see here. For more events, and there are a whole, so many things when you become a member. So contact us, Singapore chapter at SCGT.org. Ola and myself will respond to you.
And to sign up, yes, and of course to sign up for our future talks, which we will be bringing more exciting speakers from Singapore and from the region. So we hope you stay tuned and follow us, and sign up for more events to discover more great talents around the region and make them more accessible to the rest of the world. So thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks again. See you very quickly for the next talk. Thanks again, and we keep in touch. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.